Leverage your way to success. Principle number 1. 20% of your revenues take 80% of your time. If you're like most entrepreneurs, you don't simply sell one product or service. Instead, you've created a mix of products or services. Perhaps you have offerings at different price points for services, or you may have chosen to market an entire line or collection of products. What you'll discover, however, is that most of your revenues come from products or services at which you are the most efficient at providing. Conversely, you may have a number of products or a number of services that take more of your time, but while they may add to your top line, they bring in revenue, they don't add very much to the bottom. Now we're at true confession time here. Your narrator is a recovering or retired attorney. I spent about 25 years in private practice, and I concentrated in several areas of the law, but over time found that I was much more efficient at delivering certain legal services than others. My poster child for inefficiency was residential real estate closings. No matter how hard I tried, and virtually every colleague I knew who practiced in this area found the same to be true, real estate closings chewed up a lot of hours, but really didn't remit much in the way of fees. At the other end of the spectrum, I was very learned, very skilled, very proficient at crafting estate plans. What's an estate plan? It's a will, a trust, ancillary documents, organizing folks' affairs, and so forth for my clients. And due to this skill I had, I was efficient when working with these folks. In fact, the average real estate closing actually took more hours than the total time spent meeting with, drafting, and following up with estate planning clients. But the average fee for a real estate closing was significantly less than the amount collected for an average estate plan. And this was notwithstanding the fact that my fees for estate planning were very competitive and very reasonable. Now, despite this comparison, I continued to offer real estate closings, residential ones, as part of my menu of services. Why did I do this? Well, for the same reason most entrepreneurs continue to provide services or products that are not profitable. You're establishing a relationship, and you always hope that the client for whom you've provided perhaps a non-lucrative service or product will purchase more. If you take this and translate it into the world of legal services or legal practice, you discuss with the person for whom you've closed a real estate transaction the need for an estate plan. Well, this is almost like the loss leader approach that grocery stores have done for years. What's the problem with the loss leader approach is that it often doesn't work. In addition to my experiences, the folks I talk to, folks I've worked with, other studies of small entrepreneurs, I found this to be a common practice. When in the introduction, the first video in this series, I mentioned somewhat tongue-in-cheek that entrepreneurship is perhaps genetic. Whether nature or nurture, as entrepreneurs we're all conditioned or bred to bring in business, and in fact there's that still small voice within your head that repeats a mantra. Get business, get business, get business, get business, get business. We all understand further that once we have a client in our database whom we've worked with, it's easier to market further services or products to an existing client than to find a new one, isn't it? But the sad truth is that clients or customers that purchase perhaps our lower priced or more competitively priced offerings tend to be similarly price conscious when seeking other products or services. In other words, you may not achieve the same loyalty from a customer that bought a product or service that was very competitively priced in the marketplace in the first place. In my situation, I did finally make the decision to eliminate residential real estate closings from my practice. Because closings were a transactional representation, I had the advantage that I didn't need to purge prior real estate clients from my list of prior clients. I can still offer them additional services, still market to them, but I simply no longer took on new closings. Now, was this a brilliant strategic plan, a carefully thought out marketing decision? The decision to forego real estate was actually kind of an accident. What spurred me on to make this decision was the loss of an employee. Throughout most of my years in practice, I had always employed 2, sometimes 3 assistants. When one left to start a new job, I chose not to replace her, and at the same time chose to relinquish future residential real estate work. Well, what happened? What was the result here? Well, initially, gross revenues dipped. However, expenses were reduced through the reduction in staff. I didn't replace the staffer, and other savings. From the beginning, the bottom line didn't suffer, even though gross revenues had dipped. The profits didn't change. And moreover, there was more time to concentrate on the areas of the practice that not only were more lucrative because I was efficient at them, but ones at which I was really skilled, very knowledgeable, very proficient, and actually I enjoyed a lot more. Fast forward a couple years, and my bottom line actually increased from this step. Did you ever watch one of those Save My Restaurant reality shows on TV? What's the first thing, often, that the consultant, host, reality star urges the restaurant owner to do? Take a menu that typically has 56 different items on it, a real potpourri of things, slash it down to the 12 or 15 dishes that the restaurateur prepares well. In other words, cut back the offerings to those which are efficient and profitable. The bottom line here is that the entrepreneur needs to focus on the 80% of the revenues which come from 20% of the time. In other words, what services or products are you really efficient at providing? Instead of having a potpourri of things to offer, can you find more clients for the things which you make or do well? So when you analyze your business, focus on those things that you do well, that you do efficiently, and that essentially bring in the most bang for your buck, or the most buck for your time. Now, there is a corollary to this application of the 80-20 rule, and it's one that may horrify the entrepreneur for whom the mantra get business, get business, get business is echoing within his or her skull. You may feel physically ill. I'm warning you. You may close this file. You may not be able to read any further. But when you find that the opposite, 20% of your revenues are coming from 80% of your time, you need to fire some of your clients. Let me say that again. You're going to need to fire some clients. Now, I understand this is expressed somewhat harshly. What you're really doing is encouraging those clients to seek services or products within the marketplace where they're more efficiently provided. This is nothing more than capitalism at its pure roots. And please don't misunderstand me. We're not making value judgments on the individuals with whom you interact. You may have people that are delightful, people you really enjoy working with, but they're just not a good fit for your business. They're not something that you can provide efficiently for them. In my situation, my real estate clients need to be serviced by an attorney who practiced full-time in the area and who could utilize efficiencies so that not only a client would receive top-notch service, but hopefully the law firm would make a buck as well. And again, a lot of the real estate clients were delightful people. I was very blessed. The vast majority of the folks I dealt with were really good people, really interesting people. It was rare that there was a person with whom I did not enjoy an interaction. And we're not making value judgments. We're simply looking at who does it better. And that's exactly what I did. I found colleagues that I vetted, ones I knew could provide competent, high-quality closings for a competitive fee. And they could serve not only past clients who might have called my office looking for another closing, but potential clients that I would now not allow them to retain me because I no longer did that service. If you own a restaurant, perhaps you might concentrate on your Italian dishes, and if someone wants a hamburger, there's other places that they can go to get that. If you're an architect, maybe you no longer create plans for custom houses because you prefer to draw commercial industrial buildings only, but you could refer residential clients to a top-flight residential architectural craftsman across town who you know will do a terrific job for them. It's the classic win-win because you're doing what you're efficient at doing. It's what the capitalist system is designed to ferret out. And as a delightful side effect, you'll make more money and you'll create more satisfaction in your life as a result. So our friend Pareto here shows you the way. Analyze some numbers. Now don't get hung up on trying to be exact, and for gosh sakes, don't try to force numbers to fit an exact 80-20 ratio. This is business, not math. What you need to do here is look at your product or service mix, find out what you're good at, find out those things at which you're really pathetic at providing, go with your strengths, and avoid your deficiencies or your weaknesses. Don't fix your weaknesses. You don't have the time or the resources to do so as a small entrepreneur. And maybe you forget about dreams of missing out on the big order from the guy for whom you offered the loss leader services because it's probably not going to happen. Now be sure to continue to do the exercises before you move on to the next section in this course. It's the best way to get maximum value from this course and the most efficient way to use the information provided you here.